Today we're here to share a statement from the Global Majority Versus campaign on the injustice of the system, the work that has been done by communities around the world, and how we actually are going to start defending our rights as a people, and what that's going to take in the form of an educational revolution to make sure that we all know the truth of what is happening and what we can be doing about it. I'll pass over to, and this is the Global Majority Versus campaign statement on Tim Crosland and Laura's Resistance Lawyering for Truth.
In September 2020, alongside Plan.B Earth, we initiated the Global Majority Versus UK Government campaign, taking the UK government to court for its human rights violations of colonised communities around the world. Legally, the argument was simple. The UK government is, as it has been historically, violating the lives of people in the UK and around the world, actively and covertly through military, banks, corporations and other establishment organisations, imposing harm on the global majority. This argument has not changed and it won't go away. But this process forced us to do deep work, legal consciousness. The lack of knowledge of our human rights is part of the systematic attack on peoples around the world. This keeps the courts and legal processes at some lofty game performed by the establishment, every now and then televised. Never about the fact that 1 in 6 children are starving in the UK, or that the UK and British establishment can afford to go to war illegally around the world without people knowing about it costing billions in taxpayer money, or that they continue illegally imposing mining across the world, or that there are illegal rates of air pollution killing people up and down the country, or that the UK to this day illegally occupies the airport in Ghana, its still colony, with puppet arrangements, as well as stealing millions of pounds of assets in offshore and London-based pirate scams around the world. It is this miseducation that denies people the truth of the complicity of the British state in global apartheid or many other crimes against humanity which we could list.
Our communities have long since understood that this system doesn't respect people's rights and that no justice can be brought about through the court's will. But even our community's overstanding of this injustice, promoted by the courts, is ridiculed and suppressed. So the campaign that we launched 2 years ago began at great length to build a powerful alliance bringing together climate litigation experience from Plan.B Earth, the Stop the Mangamizi We Charge Genocide Ecocide campaign, a Pan-African liberation advocacy and campaigning formation of the International Social Movement for African Reparations, and a youth-led community anti-colonial campaign called the Global Majority Versus campaign, which is convened by diaspora from Abya-Yala, Africa and Asia. We fought many battles internally about the strategies and tactics to bring this case in order to be true to our people's understanding of the criminality perpetuated by the British colonial establishment. We have known that these courts have never belonged to the people, they've never belonged to me and you, they are the problem, and they fail to intervene in the fact that you are having your rights removed as we speak. Or that weapons are being shipped to kill innocent Yemeni children in your name. These are all openly accepted facts.
Therefore, what we are saying is that to truly get justice, we must take leadership from real resistance efforts of communities around the world who have set up their own people's courts and trials to shut down the criminality they are living and stop the harm towards true planet repairs. These people's courts have ruled against illegal mining, transnational companies, land occupations, invasions, or foreign interventions in defense of life and self-determination. Where is the respect for these courts? In Abya-Yala, this has been conceptualized as La Ley del Pueblo, that has been brought forward by communities across the continent, like Pueblos Unidos de la Región Choluteca and the Asamblea del Pueblo Nahua de Morelos in Mexico. In the Pan-African struggle, we have been promoting the Ubuntu Gotla People's Tribunal for Local Justice. This is based on the restitution of indigenous legal processes that are used to secure justice for indigenous communities, not by some people trained in law who wear wigs to distinguish themselves from you and I.
We therefore focus on the extra legal education, popularizing law as resistance, promoting rights and rights-based education, and the right to reparations according to international law. as well as connecting freedom fighters who are leading that struggle to teach the world that the global majority have long answered this question and are taking law into their own hands every day as they confront imperialism, its imposed hunger, violence, theft, looting, and genocidal mission. For us, this legal action became more and more insignificant the more we were convinced of our community's convictions about the failings of the system. There are still battles to fight for the minds of those that still think that this system has something to offer them or that it will bring them anywhere close to true justice. It doesn't yet matter to these people that the government actually responded to us in August 2021, stating that any violations of your rights due to its inaction were reasonably and objectively justified, exposing the colonial logic that has always underpinned this system.
It's for this reason that we entered the court in November 2021, knowing that this was not a my lord situation, and that these courts represent evil, blood, and the spoils and centuries of war violently waged on our peoples around the world. These courts have literally legalized and still legalize the loot in museums. They legalize the government and military contracts that pickpocket ordinary people and send their innocents to death. These are the same courts that legalize colonialism. They're the same courts that legalize enslavement and the displacement of our families around the world. These courts violated our right to life, our right to family life, our right to not be discriminated against, and these courts do not have the capacity to rule in favor of the peoples. Only the people can enforce the revolution that we are here for. And it is with this knowledge that when we began calling for communities to establish their own tribunals, to put the system on trial in all its forms, the education system, the schools, the universities, the British government and its courts, and the media and its lies, that this call has been towards the construction of what we call local youth tribunals for community self-empowerment. It would be a lie to say that battles to come will not be waged and won in these courts, as empire falls and scrambles to save face. But now is the time that we have to push forward, and every time the court fails, it confirms to its subjects, the youth of today, the lawyers of tomorrow, that something new has to be built. And that courts run by communities, law made by the people, law that offers us all a future. This literally has to be built, has to be redesigned, decolonized and created. Every day, every battle against imperialism, as the US and UK economies crash out of stubbornness and greed, new courts are being fashioned in thousands of places around the world. At some point, we realized the work of our campaign was to hold the line of truth and facilitate our communities to prove the fact that this victory is inevitable. We recognize that the record is very rarely set straight. We utterly disagreed that a legitimate tactic was to enter the courts and lie to our communities that this time there would be a difference. That we, from the relative luxury of neo-feudal global Britain, as colonized peoples, could convince the authorities, like some house Negroes with our allies, that they should give us justice. So the line that we arrived at was to ask the question, are you still on the side of the global minority, or are you moving towards the global majority?
So the courts confirmed their answer. They replied during Kwanzaa, the season's harvest, Christmas, that the courts upheld the ruling of their judges and that the British establishment must go scot-free. Colonized peoples are rising to that challenge. Communities are organizing. We are teaching ourselves our rights. A new world is being built. December 2022, Tim Crosland, Plan.B Earth and co-claimant, renounced himself from the bar, stating that he has no respect for the law courts, making the case that the very pillars on which these courts established their authority, a thing called the rule of law, was broken. The Global Majority Versus campaign stands in full support of this position. This is a position of truth that is needed more than ever in the increasing counterinsurgency taken up as the situation of fascism, repression and propaganda worsen. While many have chosen to avoid the truth and direct confrontation with establishment lies, there are those like Tim Crosland who are driving a powerful wave of true solidarity and for a world of global justice, which we call Ubuntu Dunya. The struggle of our communities to be taken seriously has always been one of the main battlefields of the war of genocide and ecocide. A battlefield which legal establishments have successfully supported, legalizing and providing jargon for all violations of even the most obvious and basic forms of violence.
The struggle now continues to move this charge forward into the building and defence of our communities through our own institutions, capable of defending human, peoples and Mother Earth rights internationally. We are supporting this through the Planet Repairs Action Learning Education Revolution, PRELA, alongside communities of resistance, educating ourselves on how communities are defending our rights in their formations around the world. We are sure more than ever that our victory depends on us.
And so if you want to know more about how you can get involved, know where we're moving, then you can follow the Global Majority Versus campaign, where you can see the full statement and the evidence and the testimonies given by communities around the world. You can also get involved in the Planet Repairs Action Learning Education Revolution, which requires on us, as all of us, to step up and start making sure that the truth is heard in our communities, in spaces around us. There are other formations like African Learning Community. We have a monthly jam in Brixton, last Saturday of the month, in just down the road. Information that you can hear online. And you can also take one of the flyers and think about how are we going to defend ourselves in schools, in colleges, in universities, in all the spaces where lies continue to be told and young people are being denied the truth of what's actually happening. Give thanks.
And shy you, hey.
We're just going to do it in Spanish.
Spanish, yeah?
Yeah.